Sorry.
So many fights.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the beginning of that fight, you could tell that she didn't feel so great. Like on her face, you could just see. Although maybe like I'm just feeling that because you'd already told me that she was throwing up. But to me, it seemed that way. And the first few rounds, like Honkal was kind of outclassing her, but then somehow Dakaden, Grasshopper, she just pulled it out right at the end.
Yeah.
It was really, really cool. Even though she kicked my ass last year, like I was still rooting for her to win that.
I was rooting for her too, and I actually, I don't know why my bias is so strong, but I really dislike fighters who are like 90% style. They don't really seem to fight very much. So Hong Kao, like she'll throw one huge kick and then she'll just do this kind of like bouncy thing. And then if she misses, she'll bounce even harder as like, oh, I can't believe you got out of the way. It's like brat Muay Thai and it drives me crazy. So I really wanted Dakadan to like smash her, which ultimately she kind of did near the end there. But it was one of those fights that's really hard because Hong Kao looks really good with her styling, and so even when she gets hit, she can kind of play it off like she didn't. But fighters who fight like that often don't score very much, so they end up winning a fight on like 2 points. And so at the end there, when Dakaden just like scored a few points, it became really hard for Hong Kao to be able to catch up to that. So it's almost like a turtle race or something where like it's not gonna be like a tear off. It's like this very like they're inching towards, and you're like, oh, is she gonna stay ahead? So that was a very exciting fighting for me.
Yeah, just before the end of the fight, didn't they get into the clinch and Hong Kao like took Grasshopper's back?
Totally. And I was like, don't chase her after that. I thought that might have actually clinched the fight for Hong Kao, but I'm glad it didn't.
Yeah, that's why it was so cool.
Yeah. And then earlier in the night were some really big fights. Ashley Nichols fought Namdan Pourmongpet. So Ashley is from Canada, and she is fighting out of Kusamrit Gym in Bangkok. And she's here for a couple of months, and she's actually been on these really big cards that I think Kusamrit is at least partial sponsor for some of them. So they have quite a few fighters. And she was fighting Namdan, who on the Kanam Tom Day in Ayutthaya had won a WPMF belt against Janice, also from Canada, and Kusamrit. And then Ashley had won a belt on that day as well. So they were at, I think, a catch weight for WPMF fighting each other. And man, Ashley like came out with these like punch and low kick, just endless combinations. I was like, is she going to be able to keep it up for the duration of the entire fight? Because she had actually started a little bit slow in the last fight. But she did not let up, man. Like, she was, like, snuffing Namdan's clinch and just kind of, like, slamming her in the face with a right hand anytime she wanted to. It was intense.
Yeah, that was such a good fight. She was just nailing her with right hands throughout the whole fight.
Yeah, and Namdan is really good at, like, just kind of moving through it. I mean, she was definitely affected. She was kind of, like, Pez dispensering a little bit. But she's tough. She was not, like... I can't imagine, you know, if she was very bruised after the fight or whatever, but there's a lot of right crosses, which in Thai scoring, hands don't really score really high unless they're effective, but those were really effective.
Yeah.
So, yeah. She was kicking a lot as well, Ashley.
Yeah, that was my favorite fight of that night.
Did you get to see it from the... Were you sitting with me, or were you sitting on the other side of the ring?
I was on the other side at that point.
How did it look from that side? Because I kind of, like, I was only watching sometimes, but every time I looked up, it was the same, like, Ashley just pounding on her.
Yeah, that was pretty much how it went, the whole fight.
And she won, Ashley won a, like, fire extinguisher from the sponsor.
Yeah, I think, because, you know, at the end of the fight, sometimes they'll, like, pass you little cards with, like, the logo of, like, the sponsor on it, and you just gotta hold it for a photo and then pass it to someone else. Yeah. It was one of those deals. I don't think it was, like, a fire extinguisher that she, like, took home as a gift.
Oh, okay. All right.
It was just like, oh, these guys are sponsoring us, okay.
Yeah, you get strange things as prizes from sponsors in Thai fights. I got, an air pot, which is basically like a kettle that stays on all day, and you push the top and it like dispenses hot water so you can have tea at any time, and it's one of my favorite things. I got a towel once, and at MBK I think they gave us eggs, like a dozen eggs.
Eggs.
Yeah. So You get really practical things from sponsors.
I saw at MBK they were giving out Naman Muay quite a lot. Like they give you like a little set of Thai oil. That's probably more useful for fighters. Well, no, I guess you could use some eggs, you know.
I can. I eat a lot of eggs. And then they also had on that show Pet Tapi, who used to be known as Porcao, was defending her belt against Teresa Wintermere, who's Swedish and has been in Thailand for a long time and been fighting top-tier fighters for a long time. And I talked to Teresa before that fight, and she said that she had fought Pet Tapi a few years ago and had wanted to rematch her, I think for like 3 or 4 years already, and it just kind of didn't pan out. And that belt, like that title, has actually passed through a number of people, ultimately coming back to Pet Tapi for her to be defending it at this show. So it was, I watched that fight from the corner. I went to Teresa's corner. It was the first time I'd met her in person, but I've talked to her online many times, and I'm a huge fan of hers. And she let me borrow her corner because I didn't have one, which was really great. So her trainer was my corner in my fight. But I had to put her contact back in her eye between rounds like 3 and 4. I've never put a contact in my eye, so I was like totally freaking out. And she's like, just put it in. Like she was totally just relaxed about it, like just wanting to be able to see.
I would be very nervous about that.
I was like trying to like clean my hands on the towel, and she's like, don't worry about it, just put it in. I was like, oh my god. But she was very disappointed in that fight for herself. I think because there was a lot of background for her about this belt and fighting Porcaos, who she fought before, but same girl. I definitely know it was not Teresa's best fight, but I don't think it was nearly as bad as she feels like it was. She was trying to catch her near the end there, but when it's the end of a fight and you're already ahead, basically, Pet Tapi just had to stay away from her. But I was kind of like, I guess, fangirling a little bit from the corner, like being really excited to see Teresa fight live for the first time and being in her corner. And your boyfriend, too, was like telling me to tell Teresa things. He's like, tell her to step in on her jab. And I'm like, I'm not going to tell Teresa what to do. Like, I'll be like, go, Teresa. But
yeah, he's being like one of those like drunk motorbike taxi drivers that comes to I had a guy doing that to me when I was in the corner for your fight, actually.
Really?
He actually came up to me and like hit my leg to try and like tell you to leg kick her, and I really wanted to punch him in that moment.
Yeah. People are always like really sure about this one thing that they want you to do, and they'll like find the one person who they think you'll listen to, and they're like, tell them to do this. It's like, no, it's all right.
Yeah, buddy, okay. Don't hit me though. Like
you should have hit him back.
But what was cool, you and Teresa shared a corner and a Moncon, actually.
Yeah. So Teresa came up from Phuket like the day before, and she just came with her trainer, and so she was very, very nice to have him help me in my fight. But she didn't come with a Moncon. I guess they either she didn't remember it or they didn't come with one or whatever. So after my fight, I went to thank Daw, her trainer, and he very like roundabout was asking me what I was doing after the fights, because he knew I was fighting again. So he's like, when are you leaving, and blah blah. And it was very like, I didn't quite know what he was asking. And so finally I'm like, well, I'm gonna stay and watch Teresa fight. And he's like, oh good, can we use your Moncon? I'm like, why didn't you just ask me? Like, it was just totally like are you gonna be here kind of thing. So yeah, it was really meaningful for me to have her wear my Moncon for her Van Moy in her fight, and that was very cool. I got to like adjust the size of it and stuff, like make sure it was good and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, because next to you, isn't she? Surely she's the other Farang girl who has like she will have had like the second most fights in Thailand.
Yeah, I think that Fanny is very close now. I think that Teresa is Teresa, and then Fanny is like right behind that. And we were all on that card, which is really cool. But yeah, and I think Teresa either already is or shortly will be the Farang who has been living and fighting in Thailand for the longest. She's like coming up on 10 years.
Wow.
And she has never fought Nam Dan before. She's been scheduled to fight her I think she said like 4 times, but it just never panned out in the like years that she's been here.
That does seem strange that they've never fought.
Right, and there was recently an article in Muay about how Chomani has no one to fight and Namdan has no one to fight, but they won't fight each other because they're friends. And when I read that, I was like, "They're like, I can think of like 5 people for them to fight. Like, why is this so hard?" But so Teresa went with the Pormong Pet Gym up to some kind of like other Songkran festival fight and did a show fight with Namdan. So it was not like she's never fought her, but she went to do this show fight, and she was like, I don't really know what that entails, and Kevin and I were kind of like nudging each other like, well, that's just a real fight. They just tell you what the result is going to be before you fight. I think that Namdan was pretty sore from her fight with Ashley, because Ashley was just so like tagging her with everything in that fight. And Teresa said she was really tired, but they did a full fight. And Teresa said that she felt really good in it. Like, she felt like she had done a lot, and it was, even though it was a show fight, she feels really, really good about it. So hopefully, that means that they will be fighting in a real fight, in not too long, because, Teresa's been in that circuit for a really long time. It's very weird that she hasn't fought Namdan, but, I'm happy that she got to get right back in the ring, because she was so disappointed about her fight, even though it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I mean, you always feel like that after a fight, like, you always feel like you did so much worse than you actually did.
Yeah, your, like, memory of it is totally not what it looked like to anybody else.
Yeah. And sometimes I would, like, really put off watching the video. Like, I don't want to watch it. It was so bad. And then when I watch it, I'm like, oh, okay.
You're like, oh, that wasn't that bad.
It was fine.
Yeah.
But that was probably really good for her to get.
She had a friend at that show. He spoke Swedish to her in the corner, so I don't know if they know each other from home or if they're just friends from here. But people may not know this. Songkran is incredibly hot, and people are throwing water on each other. But the government also puts a lot of restrictions on like public decency. And so this Swedish guy had taken his shirt off and was like running around to try to film Teresa's fight or something, and I think they were so panicked about him appearing on the TV feed with no shirt on, which who knows what kind of fine that would have been or something. They were like, there are all these men in security like trying to usher him to the side, but they're all wearing Songkran shirts, which basically look like Hawaiian like hangout shirts. So you would never know that there's security. It was like, it was very comical to me. I was like,
I wondered who that guy was.
Yeah.
I was like, he's not in Phuket anymore. Why is he like wearing no shirt or shoes? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
But on the first day off Songkran, police did arrest one Falang guy for not wearing a shirt, and they fined him 100 baht and just like made an example out of him.
Yeah, 100 baht is like $3 for people
Yeah.
unfamiliar with currency exchange.
And a lot of people were making a lot of fun about that, because like the main problem with Songkran is that there's just a huge amount of like car accidents. Like,
yeah, a lot of drinking. Yeah.
The official statistics, it said that like Songkran this year, police arrested something like 60,000 people for drink driving over those days, and over the full Songkran, it was something like 300 people were killed in car accidents.
I think that's more than the usual, but not too much higher, right?
They said it was 50% more than last year.
Wow.
They're really cracking down on those guys without shirts on.
Yeah, and women wearing clingy shirts or whatever the problem is.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like, I hate it when I see like dudes walking around without a shirt and stuff like that. But it's like, what's the real problem here?
Yeah. So we have to go backwards to the Waikanam Tom Day. Again, Ashley fought Kwan Jai, who's one of those top tier female fighters, and she fought her for a different weight WPMF belt and won on that show. I watched that one live. I tried to film it, but I actually like ran out of memory on my camera while I was watching it, which was unfortunate. But Ashley started a little bit slower, and so like rounds 1 through 3 and maybe even half of 4, she was a little bit behind, and then she turned it on at the end of 4 and ended up knocking out Kwan Jai with like 30 seconds left in the 5th round. It was incredibly exciting, and I think that one was on TV as well, so she's been doing really well in terms of like her visibility and her fights. And so that was a 122-pound WPMF title, I believe. And Janice Lynn from Canada was fighting Namdan at 126 for WPMF. And Janice was here for like 7 months, and she fought Namdan 3 times in that time. And so this was a rubber match. Namdan won the first one, Janice won the second one, and then Janice lost this last one at Ayutthaya. And it was kind of, I've fought girls from Pormung Pet before, and will again. Like, it's totally like a gym that I'm connected to now. But they have this, 2 of them have this amazing ability to not do a lot in the fight, but they're incredibly like defensive and evasive and kind of make it look like they're bored that you're hitting them. And so that's kind of what Namdan did in that fight. And she did it really, really well. And so she ended up, even though there was not a lot of scores in that fight, Namdan made it look like she was way ahead at the end. So it was a really good fight for Namdan at that point, and not a bad showing by Janice at all. But I think disappointing for her to leave on a loss. She's gone back to Canada now. But she has been hired by the IFMA as some kind of, like, she's writing a pamphlet on nutrition for them. But IFMA hires a lot of ex-female fighters, and I guess now female fighters, which is really cool to have on their like committees and commissions. And when I talked to Janice about it, she said that one thing that she wanted to focus on for IFMA and what she's doing in Canada is kind of uniting the different sanctioning bodies and things in Canada across, because I guess it's similar to the US where they're like very different state by state and that kind of thing.
Oh, that's very cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I tried to ask her about it, and I actually did an interview with her, but she speaks really quietly, so it like didn't come out on the video, unfortunately. But maybe I can do like a written interview with her now that she's back and probably working on things there as well. And then Tanan Chinook, who is one of my favorite fighters, I fought her twice. She looks like an action hero in every single second of the fight. Like, if you photograph her fights, she looks like she's like Superman and like levitating and stuff. She's incredible. She defended her 112-pound WPMF belt against Sofia Coco Puff Torkos from Santai in Bangkok on April 1st, I think. And that fight was awesome. Did you watch it? Like, straight away?
Yeah, I watched that.
It was like, normally when you watch fights, there's kind of like rounds 3 and 4 are kind of what decide what the fight is, and then the 5th round is basically someone trying to like keep their lead while someone else is trying to take the lead. I have no idea what happened in round 5 because I guess Coco Puff dropped a lot of weight for this fight and kind of gassed out. And so round 4, she just started like backing up as though she'd won kind of out of nowhere. And so I was confused already to begin with. But then Tanan Chinook was already winning by a lot, and in round 5 just decided to like go almost as though she was pissed off. Like, she went so hard in round 5, and I was like, Kevin and I were watching it and we're like, what is happening? Like, what is going on? But it was incredible. Like, she was just kind of throwing all of her superhero moves out, and it was an amazing win for her.
Yeah, I was confused by that because I didn't, when I was watching the fight, I didn't see that Sophia was like gassed out. It was only when she said after the fight that she was tired because of the weight cut. But I didn't see that. I just thought in round 4, I thought, I guess her corner has told her not to chase.
That's
and
what
I thought that was just that was her strategy. Yeah. And then when Tanita came out in round 5, just hammering forward, I was like, this is really unnecessary, but it's working really well.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was a good fight.
I almost had to like, is this a way to lose the fight or something? Like in a crazy like going out in a blaze way, but it was just so unusual. But it was really cool to see a display of Tanan Chinook's skill and aggression, and she has like a masculinity about her style that's incredible. Like her fight style to me is just so cool, and it's weird to see someone who almost looks really scary in the ring and be like, I want to fight them. I was like, I want to fight Tanachinook again so much. She's very cool.
It's interesting because like a lot of Thai fighters, especially females, they seem to like just do enough to win, and then in like the fifth round they'll just like stay away and then really annoy you because you'll be chasing after them and you can't get them. So that was why it was interesting to see her, like, because she was already winning the fight, and I think she just saw the opportunity to turn a win into like kind of a spectacular win and just took it.
Yeah, yeah. I did an interview with Nam Dan right after she won her WPMF title at Kanam Tomde, and I'd asked her like what's different between fighting Westerners versus fighting other Thais, and her answer was interesting. She was saying that Thais kind of tend to stay in their style, and they're very femur and technical, but that Farang are very interested in learning Muay Thai, and so they develop kind of quickly, and that they're very strong. And I was thinking about I haven't really fought a lot of Westerners. I have very few fights against Westerners, but to me, in watching a lot of Thai versus Western fights, what is difficult to me about fighting Thai women is that there are so many ways to lose, where you like don't even know that you're losing. And you're like, where did that go? And it's partially that like just doing enough thing is that it can slip out in like literally 4 seconds can change an entire fight. And they're incredibly good at it. So it can be a little bit tricky, and at times incredibly frustrating. But it's also interesting to see.
Yeah, it's funny what you were saying about people like not even knowing that they're losing. Like on the Sunday, me and Tu were watching. So we were watching Super Muay Thai on the TV, and then on the table we had the laptop showing Max Muay Thai. So we were watching both shows at the same time. And on one of those shows there was this English guy who the only one time I fought outside of Thailand, it was in Manchester, and he fought on the same show as me, and he was fighting on that show, and he lost the fight. He took like a lot of elbows, but it went to a decision. And then the next day, like I kind of went to his Facebook profile, just to be like, oh, I watched your fight, well done. But then I just saw like a whole list of like people being like, I was robbed, that the judges were frauds, and I was like, oh, I hate seeing this stuff because like it was really not even like a close decision.
Yeah.
Like it was just like a really obvious loss. But like you said, a lot of people don't even realize.
Yeah. Yeah. Can make
but
it
the
hard.
scoring system here can be really, really confusing when you first come here, so it's understandable.
Yeah, but then once you start seeing it, it becomes so like. I remember when I first moved here and I would watch Muay Thai on TV, I would be like, why did that guy win? Like, it didn't feel like a robbery or anything like that, but I was like, I just don't understand. Like, that guy doesn't look like he won. And now it's like, I'm very rarely, like, I don't understand why that fight went that way kind of thing. Like, once you know what you're looking at, it, the math comes out kind of thing. So, I don't know. I think that it's not difficult to learn to see it, but it's very difficult to learn to do it. Like, I think that I've only started to understand how to fight a fifth round probably in the last like 4 to 6 months or something like that. Like, I think I've lost fights for myself being too aggressive in the fifth round.
Yeah, I only realized the other day that out of all of the fights that I've won, only 3 of them have ever been by decision.
Really?
All of the other, I've only won 3 fights by decision, and all the rest have been TKOs or knockouts. I'm not good at winning on points.
Yeah, I had that for a long time. I think that the first time I won on points was in like the 20s of my fights or something. And I was like, yes, finally.
It's tough.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna stop this real quick so that we can.
Okay.